The Crimson Isles is probably one of the most important islands in Skyblock due to the fact that it makes a ton of money and gives you a ton of things to do. There's all these small niches, all these bosses you can do, and a ton of stuff that you can generally do here. But the issue is, a lot of people don't know how to get into it and how to truly progress into end game with it. So with this video, I won't be going through the main quest or anything, but today I'll be going through how you can truly progress through the Crimson Isles, as well as Kuudra, Blaze Slayer, Fishing, and basically everything that the Crimson Isles has to offer. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so right before we begin, I just wanted to mention I will be uploading a ton more this month because I need to hit 2.5k by the end of the year, because if I do, I kind of made like a deal that I would get my friends G-Drag. So yeah, please like and subscribe. It just means I'll be making better content as a whole. Yeah, back to your video. The first thing you'll want to learn to do is how to actually kill the mobs. And this is, of course, in early game. So most people will choose some sort of weapon that's above 30 mil, that being a Juju, a giant sword, or like any sort of like Yeti sword or ability damage weapon. But really, all you actually need is probably some sort of mage setup. I recommend Aurora when you begin, and also a 5L wand, because 5L wands are actually kind of broken. All you have to do, right click it, just hold, and basically walk around any mobs that you want to kill. And honestly, it's a lot better than everything else due to its really low price range, as well as its like ease to get into, because as soon as you get Crimson Isles, like if you get the requirements for that, then you've also got Combat 22, which is the only requirement for 5L. And honestly, it's probably one of the cheapest weapons out there. It's incredibly underrated, and it's also really good. So that is mainly how you're going to be doing your damage, as well as later with the mini bosses and all the mobs. Generally, you can just use this and you can get the 1 mil damage for all the mobs and all the mini bosses. And yeah, you can just begin Crimson Isles with this, finish off the quest, and honestly, it's pretty easy. And the second thing when you start the Crimson Isles is all about lava fishing, because lava fishing at the beginning is really annoying, especially if you don't have fishing 27. But I recommend when you begin, you don't want fishing 27, so you can easily get Bronze Hunter armor. And after that, get yourself like some Crystal Hollows fishing. Just do some Crystal Hollows lava fishing. I made a whole video on this. But really from there, get yourself fishing 27, a magma rod, and yeah, just when you start, when you're doing your Bronze Hunter stuff, also do a little bit of rod swapping. I kind of did that, like I made a video on that a while ago, so check that out. But yeah, that's kind of like all you need for fishing. Also, when you get your Bronze Hunter set, do not museum it, because later you can resell it, or I mean like salvage it, and basically you get a couple billion from that, if that still works. But yeah, just do that for some extra net worth, and yeah, 10-star it. So, you know. So finally, if you try to make a little bit of money from the Crimson Isles from the start, what you could do is go to the spawn area where there's all the magma cubes, and generally from there you can just 5L all the magma cubes and sell the like magma chunks as magma necklaces. And it's a generally alright method. It doesn't suck, but yeah, you won't be able to do too many methods as of like when you start, but you can kill the magma cubes. And that's probably going to be your main money-making method if you don't have any like other than that. But I would recommend that you have some sort of other money-making methods such as mining. But yeah, you can do magma cubes if you don't have anything else. And that's generally the end of the early game area. And from then on, you'll want to have a good amount of money. And yeah. So as you get a bit more used to the Crimson Isles, you'll eventually get yourself either a Hyperion, or you probably don't, and you start using a mage setup with sort of like a Yeti sword or a Midas staff. And generally with this, you should be trying to do a little bit of Kuudra now, and you should also be remembering to do your rep grinding. And from here, what you'll want to do is to do Burning Kuudra, either with or without a Hyperion. Your 5L should carry you a lot, but as long as you know what you're doing throughout Kuudra, you should be fine, all the way from basic to burning tier. And with that, just eventually you'll get like enough money to like start getting into like making a Hyperion. And honestly, this is probably the longest process when you begin your Crimson Isles journey. And honestly, if you've got any other ways of making money, try those. And honestly, just follow a guide that lets you like get a Hyperion. But honestly, this is probably the biggest grind. But if you're doing vanquishes during this time, do them in the Burning Desert, because the Burning Desert has a ton of mobs. It's similar to, well, flare grinding, but it doesn't give you as much combat XP, but really you get the same amount of vanquishes, and it's pretty easy to do. As well as this, you should probably do some Terror Slayer along with this so you can multitask and you're not wasting as much time, as well as the fact that, yeah, just skip all the annoying quests when you're doing rep grinding, and yeah, you should be like grinding towards Fiery, like the rep Fiery, and honestly, yeah, that's pretty much it, Kuudra. And also with fishing now, what you should do with fishing is that since you've already hit fishing 27 and you're getting sea creatures, start fishing until about fishing 30 for the Inferno Rod, and you can keep going if you want, but yeah, get some good attributes on your rod and just start fishing if you want in the Crimson Isles. And finally, by now, you should probably also be able to grind most of the mobs in the Crimson Isles for money. So if you want to do any other mob apart from magma cubes, because you can already do those, you can start doing that. But really, there's not too much else you can make money with apart from burning Kuudra, so just do that as your main money-making method. From here, you should start working towards 700 magic power, as well as getting yourself a hype for the rest of the Crimson Isles progression. You should get your Aurora to burning 7-star, as well as like working towards a burning 7-star Terror set. So now that you finally hit mid-game Crimson Isles, you should have about 850 magic power and both a Hyperion and a Terminator. And lucky for you, after spending all this money, you can finally do Fiery Kuudra. And the main method I'd say into getting both the Hype and Term is possibly just get into mining while you're doing this, as well as really just doing some Kuudra, because there's not really that much you can do to actually get a Hyperion, but just generally do some like grinding methods, do some money making methods. Eventually you'll get both, but yeah. Now the main goal of the mid-game Crimson Isles is for you to get into Fiery Kuudra, as well as some tier 4 Blaze Slayer. And you should be over about level 200, Skyblock level 200 as well as having about combat 55. If you can, now you can try grinding some flares for some keys, but if you still can't one-tap them, still do Terror Slayer and Vanquishers in the Burning Desert. But from here, you should get about 2k like Kuudra runs, collection runs to get the Kuudra Slayer emblem like me, and also about 4 to 5 build net worth in items. You should also have your 2 burning sets and work on a lifeline setup with lifeline manifold equipment, as well as getting yourself lifeline 35 in total. You should also begin working towards getting into Infernal Kuudra. Now with Blaze Slayer, it's relatively easy. I mean, all you need is to get yourself about 2 pieces of Burning Crimson, tier 2 daggers, and just a bit of Sorrow, which should be fine for tier 4s. Now finally, with fishing, you should be working towards fishing 35 for a Thunder set, and yeah, from there on you can just chill for a bit if you don't want to do more fishing, but if it's fun for you, get to about fishing 40 or so, and then you can take a chill. As a whole, now you should also be working on getting Legion 5 for all your terror, getting flawless gemstones on your armor, and begin working towards 1000 magic power. So at this point in the game, you've actually become late mid-game, and you're an actually good player now. You don't really forget your heavy pearls, and generally have some fiery armor and also gemstones. From here on, you should have a level 100 or 200 G-Drag. If you have a level 100, I'm guessing you also have a level 200 G-Drag for actual use, and the level 100 should generally just be for flares, so you can actually make money while you're doing your flares. You should also have hit about Blaze 7 around now, and you can actually begin getting Crimson pieces to do other slayers with. Your 1000 magic power and G-Drag with 1 build bank should carry pretty well, and around here you also have 8 to 9 build net worth. Finally, you can begin grinding Infernal Kuudra. And with this, it means you should probably have a Rag Axe with Chimera, or something around that. So also, if you have the budget to do so, get yourself an SOS Flare, because it's a lot cheaper than it used to be, and it is incredibly versatile when you're doing Kuudra due to its low mana cost. Your attributes should be also around 8, and begin getting yourself some Godroll Aurora as your main Mage set. And so with this, it also means you should finish off Blaze Slayer, and as long as you're above 7, it's fine because you can come back to it later when you're grinding for levels. But for now, your Blaze Slayer journey is pretty much done. Now with fishing, you either already got yourself to 50, or you're about fishing 45. Get Magma Lord if you choose to get into fishing, generally later if you found it fun while you're grinding it all that time. Or if you don't want to, just stick with Thunder, get yourself to fishing 50, and just basically quit. Don't buy Magma Lord because Thunder should be sufficient if you're just getting yourself to fishing 50. So finally, you've hit late to end game in the Crimson Isles, and you should be about above level 300 or so. And by this time, get yourself a Warden skin as well as Celestial Wither Goggles, because these aren't really just for cosmetic purpose, because generally if you're doing Party Finder, people will think you're slightly better, and I mean, it's kind of just like a small bias, but I mean, you do get into more parties a little bit more, just slightly more, because they think you're probably better, because if you have the money to actually spend on skins, you're probably decent at the game. So from here on, also get yourself perfect gemstones on your armor. You should have about 10 starred fiery sets, and just work towards faster Infernal runs. You've completed most of the Crimson Isles, and just go do dojo every once in a while to finish off the Skyblock XP on this island. Get yourself another Terminator, generally Fatal Temple 3, or possibly more if you want. Get yourself Lifeline Mana Pool Terror for more ferocity, and finally you have a nice, stable money-making method. Now, if you haven't already, get yourself Gold Trophy Hunter and even Diamond if you choose, and this generally means you get some nicer net worth, as well as, yeah, just generally having a little bit more money if you want to. Now, with your armor, just grind yourself about 3 Infernal sets. If you choose, you can get multiple Aurora and Crimson sets, one for similarly like flare grinding, and another Crimson set, as in, well, God Roll, because your other set is probably like something like Vitality and Veteran, so get yourself Gold or Crimson, or you can get Magic Find Vitality. Now, start working towards about 12 starred on each Infernal, and that's basically your main goal for the rest of the game. You are late game now as a whole, and you're pretty good at the Crimson Isles. And since there's pretty much nothing else you can actually do in the Crimson Isles now, it's recommended to finish a couple bestiaries, do some Kuudra world record runs, just like work towards them at least, and if you want, get yourself to Blaze 9 so you don't have to do it later. Start maxing your sets as well as your Terminators, and you should basically know a lot more about the game now, and work towards grinding like a Tentacle Die or like an Enrager, because, I mean, you need to have a goal that you're working towards, of course. And yeah, you've basically completed the Crimson Isles. Congratulations. You can efficiently do Kuudra and basically everything else in the game, because, I mean, the Crimson Isles is the late game island. But yeah, that's going to be the video for today. Hopefully you enjoyed, and I guess I'll see you in the next one.